Check, check, sound check. It's looking good. My goodness, it's been a few days since I've been on my lives, and I miss it. I miss you guys. I'm here now, so I will do all my normal stuff, explain to you where I've been, where I'm going, and then get started into some very controversial material. Let me first go over my thumbnail for a brief second. Two screenshots that I took of the Jeffrey. Him talk. He kind of sounds like me with braces, but even more like Jeffrey. That's how he talks. I wouldn't make fun of somebody for talking like that, unless, of course, they're a child rapist. Then make fun of them for anything and everything. It's absolutely disgusting. So the picture that I spoke about in one of my last lives with what looked executioner masks over heads, two dudes. One of those dudes, when you're looking at the picture, the one on the left, that's Jeffrey. That's Little Lee himself. So, they talk about these shopping trips, like let's go on a shopping trip. And two things about the shopping trips I'm going to get to. That's going to be the first thing I start with after I talk about the rest of the thumbnail and do those other things I said I was going to do. So then I have the drawing of Mar-a-Lago with Jeffrey on a massage table surrounded by four almost naked females. Two of them look like they're very small children, and two of them look like they're teenagers, in my opinion. And then that's what's over on the right side of the drawing. On the left side of the drawing is Jeffrey giving balloons to really little girls, like, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years old. Again, it's a drawing, so it looks to me like that's what they're trying to depict, so he's the strange man basically trying to lure little kids with candy. Pretty scary. Strangers with candy. But that was a good, funny sitcom. Very funny. So the balloon says 1983, the one with Mar-a-Lago in the background, and it is Mar-a-Lago. There's a lot of really obvious signs to point to that with the architecture and such. That one says 2003. So this birthday book was from 2003. It was when he turned 50 years old. Big boy, almost all grown up. Not so. And then underneath the 2003, it said something like, what a wonderful country we live in, or something. What, because you're allowed to do all this crap and go undetected at that point in time? He was pretty undetected. Even though people had been trying to turn him in, there was one victim in Santa Monica who tried to turn him into the Santa Monica police in California. And then there was Annie Farmer and her older sister, Maria Farmer, who both had been victimized. And Maria Farmer had tried to turn him in to local police in New York, I think. And maybe Florida, because she'd been traveling to the different houses. Oh no, I think Ohio too. I think my state, because she'd gone to the Les Wex property in Ohio. That's where her assault happened. Anyway, 1996 was when the farmers first tried to turn him in, or they did turn him in, but nothing was done. And then I think it was 1997, the person in Santa Monica, but that one might have been prior to 96. I forget. She's kind of newer on the scene. And it happened in a hotel there in Santa Monica, my old stomping ground. Anyway, the Santa Monica police said, well, why don't you think about this overnight? Think about this before you make a report. And she, followed their advice, and she came back the next day and said, yeah, okay, I want to make a report. And they were very hesitant. So I think that's super important to point out. And then the picture on the right on my thumbnail is Virginia Giuffre. Virginia Giuffre is how I've been saying it. And I don't think that that's accurate, people say it so many different ways. Anyway, Virginia Giuffre, who I believe was Epsteined in April of this year. I think it was April 25th. I think it was the day before the First Lady's birthday. I think. Yeah. Anyway, everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. Please hit your like button and make sure you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed, if you're not, please consider just hitting that sub up button. It doesn't cost anything. There's no commitment. You don't get emails, nothing. It's no biggie, but it's a big deal for the content creator. It helps us a lot. And share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like my channel. Turn on your notification bell to ring a ding ding. And we're jumping in. So the thing that I was going to get back to, the shopping trips. There was a joke. That whole birthday book was, in my opinion, jokes about the pedo, the files of pedo, we'll say. And really celebrating the files of pedo and revering Jeffrey as your top file of pedo and his bestie, little T, as right up there with him, even ahead of him in that regard. So this was released a week and a half ago now. Birthday book, the whole thing, the thing that our dear leader said didn't exist. So he's been in full panic mode ever since then. Not only did it get released to Congress, Congress uploaded it to the cloud to make sure that everybody knows about it. So you can look at it yourself if you want, and I would recommend doing that, although take a barf bag and some Dramamine if you're like me. It literally will make you sick. Literally. It's gross. So in the birthday book is a little joke. I mean, I didn't read through every freaking thing. I scanned it. A lot of it is redacted. And even with a good percentage of it being completely redacted, so you have no idea what's there, what they didn't redact still made me physically ill for hours and hours and hours. It's that bad. So trigger warning. And I don't even have baggage of that type, fortunately. I mean, so many people do. And I've got my own baggage, but not of that nature. Anyway, I've certainly known people like that. I spent a lot of my childhood and early adolescence growing up in Southern California. So also DC, but that was when I was much younger. And then Ohio, which really saved me from what I would call Hollywood by the sea. Anyway, the shopping trips. I want to stay focused on that and finish that thought. Dear leader himself mentioned something about a shopping trip in his infamous hot mic moments with Billy Bush on the Access Hollywood tour bus. The same conversation where he said you grab him by the Kit Kat. They let you do it because you're a star, right? Well, yeah, they also let you do it because they're fearful of retribution, which we know you're like the freaking king of. And a lot of them let you do it, just like the teenagers that he would walk in on in their dressing rooms at the teenage pageants. Mind you, at this juncture, Jimmy Kimmel just got canned last night, thanks to dear leader. Phew, get that man off the air. He's not funny at all. I mean, he's freaking amazing. They all are. Stephen Colbert, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon, Conan O'Brien, who, I held that against Jimmy Fallon for a long time, that I thought he was given the position that Conan had earned. I love them both. And then the amazing talent on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and so many freaking others. Titus is a really good one, Sarah Cooper, and I'm learning more and more hilarious comedians. Christopher Titus's wife is a comedian in her own right, and I like her a lot. I would love to see a performance of hers. She's on the Christopher Titus podcast with him and another fella, and they discuss pretty much politics. So it's right up my alley, I'm a true crime channel that blends all of my eclectic artsy fartsy things that I love to try to kind of counterbalance the toxicity of true crime. And then I feel like I fell into the rabbit hole of politics, because it's become true crime. Like, you don't even have to say I don't have to say my channel is now true crime and politics, because that's kind of redundant. It's like politics are true crime right now, and true crime, a lot of it is political right now, or it's being weaponized as political. And maybe it's not. Like, just yesterday, there was 3 law enforcement officers that were shot and unalived in Pennsylvania. And, my husband's law enforcement, so I pay very close attention to that stuff. And I just happened to be in Pennsylvania yesterday. That's one of the reasons why that's like the reason I couldn't do my live the last couple of days. So I had to drive to mid-central Pennsylvania to pick up one of my kids who had gone to New York City. And then on the way back, halfway home, he crashed. A deer tried to Epstein themselves in front of his car, or the deer did Epstein themselves in front of the car. And so the car was totaled, and him and his girlfriend were kind of up a creek without a paddle because they didn't have a car. They're, in their late teens, so they didn't have the ability to rent a car. Like, you're not allowed to rent a car until you're at least 21, probably. They couldn't even check into a lot of the hotels because that too. Anyway, they had to stay for 2 nights. They were going to have to stay for longer because we couldn't get a rental car here in Ohio, where we are, to drive to them to pick them up, because there was like this big problem with all the rental cars being taken. It was nuts. It was completely crazy. I'm like, look, we can go to Dayton International Airport. We can go north of there. There's a few cities north of there. We can go south of there to Cincinnati. We can go to Columbus. Wherever the car is, we can go to pick it up. We need it today, not at the end of the week. And finally, being patient and demanding, without pulling a Karen, we got a car. And so I drove 5 hours the day before yesterday, straight shot to get there, and then spent the night with them at the hotel, and then yesterday drove all the way back. So that's where I've been, and I am going to be traveling this weekend too. So I'm going to try to make this video today, try to make a video early tomorrow, and then probably not again until Tuesday. I've been missing you guys like crazy. But what I want to talk about is this whole Kimmel thing, and why I have a completely different take on it than anybody that I've seen on television or online. And I want to know what your thoughts are. And I see nobody's here because I'm sure I'm being heavily shadow banned, and I'll probably be cut off the air completely. I'm sure my stream will drop and my channel will get under investigation or something, but I'm just going to say it. So if that happens, that happens. First of all, Jimmy Kimmel is, I think, filing a lawsuit. I think this is like breaking as I was coming on the air. There's activity going on that, yeah, this is complete and utter crap. and it's straight up fascism. But more than that, I think there's a hypersensitivity around Charlie Kirk with Dear Leader, because I think that he's hiding something. Just like he had that hypersensitivity with his wife and little E being mentioned, people talking about how he met his wife, people talking about when he met his wife, like their story doesn't add up. You know, their official story is like they met at the Kit Kat Club and she asked him for his number, and no, he asked her for her number. She said, no, not giving it to you. And then she got his number because, you know, he's so freaking attractive. She could probably not keep her paws off of him. Right. Yeah. Not buying it. Anyway, you know, the First Lady started modeling when she was 5. She got very well known when she was 16. And if you do the math, she's like 4 years younger than me. So when I was 20, that would have been 1987. Oh, what an interesting year that might have been if she was 16 in 1987. Because 1987 is when little T says he met little E. 1987 is when there's a photograph of him and his then wife, Ivana, in Leningrad, when it was still Leningrad, I think, or maybe, I'm not sure when it became St. Pete's instead of Leningrad, right around, yeah, it was after that. It's been like 35 years. So just a couple of years after that. Let me ask AI, Anna Bees, did you get your mail? How are you, sweetie? Thank you so much for coming in and saying hi. It's awesome to see you here. Leningrad. When did Leningrad become St. Pete's? (1991). Okay, good to know. September 6th, 1991. Following a referendum where 54% of citizens voted to restore the city's original historical name. The name change was a symbolic rejection of the Soviet past after the collapse of the Soviet Union, marking a return to Russia's pre-revolutionary heritage. I'm not going to read more about that, but people need to know the symbolism of when our dear leader referred to it as Leningrad a few weeks ago when he met with Daddy Vladdy in Russia. No, I mean Alaska. And they were talking about swapping some real estate or something. Coco's trying to get in. Let me let her in. I haven't gone to the mailbox. Oh, I bet you it's there because I got it in the mail. I think that was last week now. One sec. Come on, Coco. Oh, she loves to take a break from the crazy little dogs and come into my nice, cool studio and chill out with Mama. How are you doing? Are you better? So this coming weekend, I'm going on my very last yoga retreat weekend. You know, I've been in this pretty intensive program for like more than 2 years. Yes, just about 2 years, I think. And this is like the grand finale weekend. So we're going to a nice little cabin in Michigan. I'm looking quite forward to it. The fall is beautiful around here, Anna Bees. How is it where you are? Because going to Pennsylvania, the autumn leaves were much more magnificent than they are a few hours west where I am. Yes, I'm doing fine. I hope you are too. I am. I'm doing pretty good. Thank you. It was hard driving 5 hours late at night until midnight. It was especially hard, the 3 of it that was in the dark. That's really hard, especially when you're not familiar with an area. But it was like freeway stuff. And then driving the 5 hours home yesterday because it was a rental car, so I didn't want the kid to drive it. But yeah, now we have to deal with the car. I don't think they're going to repair it there in Pennsylvania where we left it. I think it's going to be totaled out. Oh, Granny Annie is traveling again. What's up? Well, is it fall? Is it all lit up like fall right now, Annabees, or not quite yet? Because yeah, here it's not quite yet. But as we were driving home yesterday from all the beautiful fall colors in middle Pennsylvania, and man, Pennsylvania is such a gorgeous state. I had not been there in a long time. I love Pennsylvania. It's got such a rich history too. Yeah, not yet. Yeah, I mean, it made me realize, like, oh, that's why Vermont is famous probably for the fall leaves, is because the further east you go, maybe the brighter the colors are, or the earlier it comes, maybe the longer it lasts, because the fall leaves don't last long here. They go down to the ground pretty quickly after they make all the beautiful colors. So it's so nice to see you, Granny Annie Nanny. Granny Annie Nanny. I'm complicating it. And DIY Drea. Hello, hello. What happened to the car? So my son drove with his girlfriend to New York City to make a marriage proposal in a special park, a place in Yonkers called the Temple of Love, because, you know, he's the space cowboy. Gangsta of love. Anyway, so I tried to talk him out of it, but you know, they were bound and determined to save up their money and go to New York City because they're crazy like that, you know, 18 and 19 years old. And then it was her birthday, and it was you know, the surprise engagement, so that happened. And then on the way back they hit a deer on Interstate 80. So I guess Interstate 80 in like eastern Pennsylvania to New York City, I guess it's well known for deer at night. So you have to try not to drive through there because, yeah, you would think on a freeway that'd be less likely than on a highway. So fortunately, he wasn't speeding, and I think he was going like 60, maybe in a 65 zone. So he was like under speeding because he knew about the deer situation. So he's a smart kid. And so it wrecked the car. The tow truck driver drove them to the hotel. But yeah, they had trouble checking into a hotel that they made reservations at because of their ages. And then it's going to be hard for them to get the money back because it was like through booking.com or something like that. Romantic son. I know my sons are crazy with the ladies. You know, they both are getting engaged, and I don't know how soon he's going to get married. The first son got married right out of high school, October. So he graduated from high school in 2023 June, and then him and his wife got married on Halloween in Washington, D.C. He's military, so that was nuts. And so they have a baby now, and you know, they're like all of 20, I believe. Oh, she's not even 20 yet. She'll be 20 in a few months. But yeah, so they're married with children. My son is 20, the older one. And then the younger one, who just graduated a couple months ago, proposed to his girlfriend. So now he's engaged at 18. I mean, freaking crazy. Luckily, the girls are much more responsible than the boys. You know, my oldest is actually in graduate school to become an occupational therapist. And my youngest is in 8th grade. So, and they're both just very level-headed. The boys, I guess you could say they're level-headed, but man, they're pretty nuts. I think even my husband agrees. Anyway, I don't want to keep talking about me, although I don't mind sharing with you guys, but I know we want to talk about the cases. And the whole thing with Charlie Kirk is so freaking awful. There's no way you're going to have a videotaped red rum online for as long as that thing was online, unless that's intentional. Like, people put stuff up all the time that gets taken down immediately for any type of minor infraction of inappropriateness. And so the part of the video where he's hit and collapses, that part, you can't find that on the internet anymore. Like, maybe in a couple of people's videos where they showed clips, but I bet they're probably scrubbing those out too. But you could find the whole entire thing in the beginning. It was awful, and we probably all saw it. We were all just like, what the F? Whether we knew who he was or not, whether we agreed with him or not. I mean, it was horrific in the middle of the day in what appears to be a very safe setting. Yeah, he had a lot of threats against him for the things that he said, because he was intentionally provoking, like he was trying to upset people to make these debates. So he wore a bulletproof vest. He had security detail. But I stand firm in my opinion that the security detail, those two guys behind him with the sunglasses and the one with the white baseball cap and the sleeve thing and the ear thing and all those signs and signals, I stand firm that they were communicating with the shooter, in my opinion. And yeah, they might be close friends of his. They might be his security detail, but I think that they sold him out, sold him down the river. And the whole situation is so fishy. But I think that what I'm going to say is going to like rock your boat. And I don't know if it may upset you, Granny Annie Nanny, because I know that the whole, what I call the Trumpster fire situation, is something that we see very differently on. And I want to respect your thoughts and feelings about it. So please feel free to share your thoughts and feelings if you want to. And like, just so anybody knows that's not us, that we know we're in major disagreement over the Trumpster fire. So my son got married when he was 20. Granny Annie says, I believe he was offed by pharma 6 days before. Oh man. My Hollywood son says they are making clones of stars, had Charlie ready to go after pharma allegedly offed him week before. Never let a tragedy waste. I believe all politicians near the top are corrupted, both parties. I agree, Granny Annie Nanny. We agree 100% on that. And wow, that's a wild opinion, girlfriend. I had not heard anything about that one. I have heard a lot about Netanyahu and Israel and some meeting that they had in the Hamptons, and maybe, I don't know if that was a week before or weeks before, but maybe that ties in with what you're talking about, the pharma stuff. So it's my understanding that Charlie Kirk himself had been offered $100 million at a meeting in the Hamptons prior to his assassination. And the money was for him to just do whatever they wanted him to do, basically pro-Israel, pro-Vladdy Daddy. And he said no. And then he told his friends that he felt like he was being blackmailed and that he feared for his life. So the net guy, the Yahoo, that guy, he's in those Epstein files as much as anybody else, as is Daddy Vladdy, and as is RFK Jr. So a few days ago, which is the Senator Kennedy from the South, I think he's like Louisiana. Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. It is John Kennedy. Okay, so he's kind of a clown. He's kind of likable and also kind of hideous, in my opinion. John Neely Kennedy. So he asked Kash Patel the question, the $1 million question, the day before yesterday, and I think yesterday was the Senate hearing, and the day before that was the congressional hearings. And he's a senator, so it would have been at the Senate hearing. He asked Kash Patel, maybe the Senate hearings were 2 days ago, and then the Congress was yesterday. Anyway, what did he ask him? He asked him, here, I wrote it down. I have so many notes. I'm going to try to get all my information in here, but it's so hard because, first of all, I have to read my writing. This is it. He wrote, he asked, who, if anyone, did it, little e, traffic these kids to besides himself? And then I think even added if there was anyone. It was kind of like wink, wink, like, the answers in the question. So Senator Kennedy asking that very pointed question, not, an open-ended question is like, well, tell me how your day was. A pointed question is, was your day good or bad? Right. So just for anybody who doesn't know that lingo, when you're interviewing people, when you're trying to get the truth, when you're interrogating somebody, you want to ask open-ended questions. You're going to get a much bigger picture and a much more thorough understanding. If people are lying, it's much easier to lie if you're not asking open-ended questions. If you're just asking yes, no, and stuff like that. So anyway, this is kind of a pointed question, in my opinion. Who, if anyone, again, wink, wink, did little e traffic these kids to besides himself? Okay. Trafficking the kids to himself is not trafficking the kids. If he's the one doing the trafficking, and let me just say transporting, if they're in traffic, that's one thing, but transportation. If he's the one transporting the kids, he's not transporting them to himself. That's just being a pervert, right? If other people are transporting the kids to him, then they're the ones transporting the kids. So the question is complete bullcrap to begin with. But his relative, RFK Jr., is all over those freaking files, all over those files. So him trying to elicit the answer that he got, which is that he only transported them to himself. That was it. Nobody else. So we know that that's a lie. We know that Senator Kennedy was covering for a lot of his colleagues, but especially for his family name. Even though the family dislikes that guy, the one who fried his vocal cords with crack and fried his brain with a brain worm that he says is died, but it's still in there. Like they never got it out. They never took it out. I don't know. I mean, I guess you'd probably get brain worms if you're like eating roadkill, which he did. Anyway, let me see what you guys are saying. Independent here. Yes, that's the way to be, Granny Annie. I sent you a video. It had TikTok and X published. The video from a few days ago, the one that I sent you the email back about, and yeah, that was awesome. Thank you for making sure that I had seen that. At the moment, I can't even recall exactly what it was. And if you want to say what it was, we can talk about it a little bit. But yeah, it was something that I had seen, but had I not seen it, that was priceless. I super, super appreciate you communicating with me at all because I love you. But I also super appreciate you bringing that to my attention. And I'm gonna tell you guys my opinion that is gonna make me very unpopular with some people, but I really think it's true. So I'm about to get there. OMG, is that how his voice got messed up? Mine is now. Well, I believe so. I've tried to do some research on medical causes of that. It's basically like the spasming of the vocal cords. And there's not a lot of different things that cause it, but I understand that smoking a lot of hard rugs can do that to your voice too. Yes, the video a few days ago had CK offed 6 days later. Right. Thank you, Granny Annie. So that video was, and maybe you guys have heard about this, the other people viewing, the ones here live right now, and the replay crew. That video was like there was a book published about Charlie Kirk's passing away, the day before it happened? It was like an Amazon book and some other stuff too. Allegedly time-stamped before it happened. So when did it happen? Wasn't that like Tuesday the 8th? Let me look at my notes and such. I think I just wrote down the dates that happened. Or no, I didn't write it down, but I was looking it up. Maybe it was the 10th, because today's the 18th. Charlie Kirk. It was the 10th. Right, because it was the day before September 11th. Duh. Okay. So, and I want to look at the calendar to see. I think it was a Tuesday, wasn't it? No, it was Wednesday. Okay. So here we are, Thursday the 18th today, and this was 1 week and 1 day ago. So the night before that, the 9th, was when Dear Leader went into a local restaurant with his Secret Service and got harassed by some ladies who were saying that he was the Adolf H of our time. And I don't know, that whole thing seemed kind of staged to me. That's my opinion. And for a president to go into a freaking restaurant is dumb. They don't do that. And I don't know in his first presidency, but I know in this presidency for sure that he's never eaten outside of the White House when he's in DC. That's the only place he eats. And why wouldn't you when you've got all these amazing chefs? And you have to worry about your physical safety, your president. But oh no, he just waltzes into a restaurant the night before this happens to an old family friend. So Charlie did a lot for the Trump campaign. A lot. And that was, I think, in the first run. Let me see. I know that him and his wife were at the inauguration, but his wife was Miss Arizona in 1992. And Trumpster Fire owned the beauty pageants all the way up until 2016. And let's see. When did he start? Wait, no, she won Miss Arizona in 2012. He started owning the pageants, I think, in 1991. Let me just look at that real quick. Years Trump owned beauty pageants. Miss America. Miss America. So I think he owned the Miss America and the Teen USA at the same time. So from 96 to 2015. Oh, wait, no. Sorry. I'm so glad I looked it up because I was misled. AI says that he never owned the Miss America pageant. He owned the rival Miss Universe organization, which included the Miss USA pageant from 96 to 2015. Okay, so there's two. There's Miss America and then there's Miss USA. I did not even know that. That's crazy. That's insane. Who owns the other one? Robin Fleming purchased. That's who owns the Miss America now. That is wild. I had no idea that there were two. I thought it was all the same. So anyway, Erica Kirk was Miss Arizona in 2012. They were at this last inauguration, January of this year, 2025. I have no idea if they were at the first one. What was the other thing I was going to look up? Now I forget. Yes. So Granny Annie, thank you for this information. Charlie was September 10th. Amazon released a book the day before about his red rum. So in the book, was it the same way? Like, was he speaking publicly at a college and all that? And Anna B says, one of my close friends who meet and my other two friends have a group chat. We chat every day. Well, one of them asked how I felt about CK passing. I said it was terrible, but I have no feelings about him. Yeah, I think it's awful what happened to him. And I think that the hatred that he spewed was vile. And ironically, he was all about free speech. So now his passing away is being weaponized to take free speech away. If you don't have the right opinion, according to Dear Leader. Anna B says, Annie, that is weird. That one friend is now not participating in our chat because I said I wasn't sad about it. Well, I'm actually sad about his assassination. I am. That's just my instinct. I can't help it. I wish that he didn't spread the hate that he spread. And now his wife is planning on carrying that torch. So his funeral is scheduled for Saturday, the 21st, the day after tomorrow. Or is it the day after that? Because today's the 18th. So that would be Sunday then, right? I just looked this up. Why did I think it was Saturday, the 21st? Charlie Kirk's funeral. Where's it going to be? It's going to be in Arizona. The date. Sunday, September 21st in Glendale, Arizona at the State Farm Stadium. So they're going to really try to use it as a springboard for, I think they say they have 30,000 little seed companies of people that want to be like him. I have no idea if that's accurate or not, but it could be 30,000 people from Daddy Vladdy's country. Seriously. And the hypersensitivity around, basically, Kimmel was canned because he was criticizing Trumpster Fire for his lack of empathy when the reporter asked him how he was doing after his close friend was assassinated. And he said, I'm good. Did you see the trucks? And they're doing the ballroom. Like immediately, he's pivoting. I think that was very intentional because he doesn't want to talk about what happened because he knows that he can't hold it in. He's got the loose lips, especially now with his health really going downhill. I think that Netanyahu wanted this to happen and that our government made sure that it happened for the Yahoo. Yahoo is the daddy of our dear leader as much as Daddy Vladdy is. Maybe more. I don't know. I don't understand all that stuff. But I do know that Little E and Jizz's dad both sold arms illegally to Israel. And they were also both, at the very least, agents for Israel. And very, very likely Mossad. Well, I think that Ivana's father was not KGB, but STB, which is like the Czechoslovakian equivalent. So I think, just all that affiliation, like I honestly don't know the difference. Mossad is Israel. I think it's STB is the one that is from what used to be and is now the Czech Republic, what used to be Czechoslovakia. And Slovenia or Slovakia, those are two different countries. I think Slovakia might be the one that Melania is from. Anyway, and then of course you've got what was formerly the USSR, and that's the KGB. So you've got all these agents and you've got all these spies, and they all probably thought they were like James Bond. And then some of them are double agents. So you guys know about Big Balls' granddad being a double agent for KGB and SBT, and he was assassinated. Yeah, you guys knew that if you watched my video a couple weeks ago. Probably Anna Bees did, and maybe other people viewing this now did. It's no coincidence. So Donnie, in the photograph, the famous photograph that I used in one of my thumbnails of him and Ivana in Leningrad in 1987, and her dad was the STB agent for, I think, 27 years. And he passed away suddenly at age 63, the year after they got a divorce. So that makes me suspicious too. But he's the one who got Donnie involved with being a James Bond kind of guy, right? And that was the same year, 1987, that he admits to knowing little E. I don't think I've come across any information where he admits to knowing him before that. But I'm very suspicious that Melania was introduced to both of them when she was underage, and that's why that's such a hot topic. I've spoken about that in many of my recent videos, but the thing, I still haven't said the thing that I'm dying to say. So are you ready? Are you guys sitting down? I kind of did say it, and I've said it before, but to say it real specifically, you got to be really careful. I believe that this was not just an international government hit, but a USA government hit. I believe that entirely. And I don't have much opinion about the 22-year-old that's under arrest. Like, I don't know, maybe he did it, maybe he didn't. I mean, I certainly have opinions about his ridiculous text messages where he speaks like he's 90 years old in text and uses commas and doesn't misspell anything and calls his roommate my love because, isn't that what all the kids say these days? My love. And, admits to everything and is asked the question, well, how long have you been planning to do this? Oh, about a week, I think. And I did it all alone. And then, there's a patrolman where I need to go to pick up my, whatever he calls his weapon. I don't remember. But I do remember he said patrol car, I think. He called the cop vehicle a patrol car. A lot of weird speak. Called his father my old man. Yeah, you can argue that, okay, he has weird verbiage words, but the people that I've seen trying to argue like, oh, well, he just has weird verbiage words, I'm just like, pull your head out of your rear end. Like, even AI, even Grok and ChatGPT say that conversation is fabricated, basically. Even AI can tell. I mean, it's written like a bad movie script. It's really written poorly. I mean, I could read it. That'd be funny, huh? So you guys know what I'm talking about. Now I'm upset about all of this. Well, I'm upset that that people aren't realizing that our dear leader's hypersensitivity around Charlie Kirk is because he's got so much to hide right there. That's what I'm upset about, is like nobody's looking past that. People are just like, oh, well, he's firing Kimmel because of that, and he can't fire Kimmel, and now we're in a fascist state. It's like, no, ignore the man behind the curtain, why don't you? I mean, come on. It's just like a knee-jerk reaction for him being like hyper vigilant to try to keep a lid on. Nobody can talk about him or he'll sue you for $15 billion, because he just filed that ludicrous lawsuit, I think the day before yesterday, to the New York Times. Ludicrous. And you can't mention Charlie Kirk unless you're going to say that everything's like puppies and rainbows because he says so. It's like he just wants to control what people say. And that kind of micromanagement, I guess you could call it, like trying to micromanage a whole nation of Americans. Yeah, it's a little fascist. It's also a little controlling, kind of like an abusive partner. Like he's an abusive partner. He's been admitted to or been found guilty of victimizing 20 survivors, you guys. That's not counting all the little e survivors. That's the lawsuits that are out there for basically like separate incidences, including E. Jean Carroll's. I read through those in one of my lives recently. He's paid out a lot of money to keep people quiet, which is maybe why he doesn't want anyone to see his tax records. But now I forget what I picked up my phone to look for. Oh, the conversation. Let's see. I didn't get into the details, just showing us all our government, aka billionaires and deep state military, think we are idiots. Cameras everywhere now. Yeah, they do think that we're idiots, and they're the idiots because, I mean, as long as they keep kissing the brown eye of the dear leader, they'll still be billionaires. But he can probably put a freeze on all their assets in a blink of an eye, just like what he did with Kimmel. And that's probably why Elon eased up. Big E also eased up because he is also all over those freaking files. These are just the ones that I know of. And I haven't done that much research even to try to figure out who were the perps in the E files. I've been more focused on the survivors and hearing their stories to find out what they've gone through, the ones that are talking and the ones that are still able to talk. And a lot of them have signed NDAs. I think that little E's accounts have paid out like $100 million and to survivors, but they all had to sign NDAs. And so I don't think any of those people could come forward now. Maybe there's like a loophole, a technicality where they could. But, you know, I mean, people don't want to come forward because they get their lives threatened. I still have that friend on Facebook, and she showed her tickets for the funeral on Facebook. Oh, wow. Oh, it's going to be a whole lot of love, a whole lot of MAGA love. I believe it was a hit from our government too, Annabee says. Yes, right. But I believe that the leader of our government is the one who had to give the green light. So this is somebody that was really tight with him and really tight with his sons, but also who desperately wanted the e-files to be public and had quieted down after being told to or asked directly from the dear leader, an actual phone call from the dear leader that said, hey, keep a lid on it. And then when the birthday book was uploaded, I think he did a 180. So let's see. Government making texts appear as if sent days or weeks ago. They say BK's Idaho Forest stories about mental health were debunked. Yeah, the whole thing with Idaho 4 is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Hey, my lovely ladies lurking here. A car, a vehicle at 22. LOL. Exactly. How are you, honey? It's been a while. Did I highlight that one? Oh, wait a second. It went to you, Miss Amir, instead of just highlighting. Let's see. It slipped and went to go to channel. The text messages are weird. They have film of him walking strange. Right. The thing with the rifle down his pants leg. They say because he had the rifle in his pants, then he made dressing changes, and when he got off the roof, he had no rifle. Right. And how did he climb onto the roof with it? Like, I think they're trying to say that he broke it down to climb up there, then put it back together, which if you're going to do that, you have to recalibrate it, which means you have to fire to get your scope lined up and everything. And then he took it apart again to jump down with it in his backpack, according to our government. And then he put it back together when he ditched it in the woods, right? Sure. But then he dropped the rifle in the wooded area, and they say the type of weapon is hard to dismantle and putting back together. Right. That it's not one that you would normally do that with. Exactly. But yeah, let's just look at that text message conversation for a minute, because there are some really funny things that stand out. I can't even think of the guy's name right now. Charlie Kirk's shooter's text message thread with his roommate. Robinson, what was his first name? Tyler Robinson. Okay. So it starts with Robinson's roommate told the police about a note left by Robinson under the keyboard, which the dog ate, incidentally, which read, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it," end quote. Police say they found a photo of the note from before the dog ate it. In the court filing, prosecutors described the roommate as a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. I'm not buying that hook, line, and sinker, because that might be true, but it might not be. And what does that have to do with anything anyway? Oh, right. All the trans people are committing all the red rums. Robinson's roommate provided their text messages to the police, according to the documents. So something else that I want to say is that Tyler allegedly turned himself into law enforcement, which is, in my opinion, cooperating. But then once he turned himself in, then he was not cooperating. That doesn't make sense. So the alleged text messages, this is CNN, between Tyler and his roommate on the day that Charlie was taken out. So the first one, and yeah, no timestamps. "Drop what you are doing. Look under my keyboard." And it says a little narrative. "The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, 'I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it.'" Roommate, what? With like 10 or 12 question marks. "You're joking, right?" 4 more question marks. And a comma and an apostrophe. I don't know, but not everybody uses punctuation in their texting, especially the younger ones. "I am still okay, my love." Right there. "But I am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet." Also odd. "Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still." To be honest, okay, to be honest, the kids write TBH, right? They do use that phrase a lot, the hip youngsters, the youths, but they don't write it out. They put capital T, capital B, capital H. But this is all written out. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret until I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Really weird that he's talking about old age, in my opinion. Like, it would be one thing to say, I had hoped to take this secret to my death, but died of old age. Okay. I am sorry to involve you. And then the roommate says, you weren't the one who did it, right? 4 question marks. And we have, I am, comma, I'm sorry, with the proper, apostrophe, but no period. So, hey, there you go. There's there's one period missing so far in all of this. And then the roommate writes, I thought they caught the person, with a question mark, which is odd, in my opinion, to put a question mark there, but that's just my opinion. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point. Okay, drop point is like a military speak, or maybe law enforcement. My drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. And lingering is not a word that a 22-year-old would really use like that, in my opinion. Why? Question mark. And then, to be clear, why did I do it? Question mark. Yeah. I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. How long have you been planning this? A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. Very much not how a 22-year-old would communicate in a text, in my opinion. That whole sentence. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. Again, my husband's law enforcement. I might call his vehicle a squad car. Maybe. But anyway, I think they already swept that spot. Again, swept is law enforcement lingo. That's not something a civilian would necessarily use in that sense. I could even see maybe saying cleared. I think maybe they've already cleared that spot, but I think that that's sus. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. That's cute. Speak. I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got my vehicle, and then a period, and then a ... That's weird. Like, instead of just, I don't know, 4 dots instead of just the 3, and then a period and a space and then the 3 dots. I don't know. And then another space before the I don't know about all these spaces. Kind of being sarcastic, of course. I'm worried about my old man. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. And he did not use an apostrophe there. And I am very disappointed. Not on Grandpa's. He did on all the other places where he would need it. So IDEK, which I don't know if that's supposed to be IDK. Like, I don't know if it had a serial number. but IDEK. That'd be funny if this was somebody that was like 60 years old that wrote this, and they thought that the kids with the IDK, that they did the IDEK. I don't know. Anyway, if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me, I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Okay. I don't think a kid is going to say outfits. They're just going to say changed or changed clothes, not outfit. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Yeah, them finding it was like a treasure trove of information, of course. But yeah. Only thing I left with the rifle was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? Oh, this is hilarious. The effing messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks. I'm going to have a stroke. Again, that's not like how 22-year-olds speak. I have a 23-year-old daughter. I have a 20-year-old son. They would never speak like this. Even the son that's in the military, he would never speak like this. And his dad was a cop too. He would never speak like this. This is crazy. And the daughter is like working on her doctorate, and she wouldn't be speaking like this, and she wouldn't be using all this freaking punctuation either. And she's been a straight A student her whole freaking life. Okay, remember how I was engraving bullets? Okay, judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. IDK. I think that was a 2000K scope. Delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me RN right now. Not answering. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. Okay, that's just kind of odd. Since T got into office, my dad, in parentheses, has been pretty diehard MAGA. I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. Now, I thought that it was the dad that talked him into it with the help of a minister friend. But yeah, that's the other thing, is that the story keeps changing. Kind of reminds me of Amanda Knox. You are all I worry about, love. I'm much more worried about you. Don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you a question, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. So freaking bizarre. Okay. Let's see, where was I? Where was the last one I highlighted? Was Mrs. Amir. The text messages are weird. They have film of him walking strange. They say because he had the rifle in his pants, then he made dressing changes, and when he got off the roof, he had no rifle. Right. Like, so he could have had it in his backpack because he had a backpack. And man, that was a very far distance that he jumped down from the roof. You know, he's like dangling, and then he drops like maybe close to 10 feet without hurting himself and then being able to run away. That kind of seems like potentially military training. I mean, dangling from a building by your fingertips the way they do in movies, that's pretty hard to pull off too. Most people's fingertips aren't quite that strong. But then to fall to the ground that far without hurting yourself seems like you'd kind of have to know what you were doing. I don't know, maybe he's a gymnast or something, right? Or maybe he does yoga. That's probably it. Then he made dressing changes, and when he got on the roof, had no rifle. But then he dropped the rifle in the wooded area, and they say that type of weapon is hard to dismantle, putting it back together. Right, and they also say that he left his screwdriver on the roof, which, yeah, anything's possible, but kind of reminds me of a knife sheath. I don't know. I don't trust anything coming from this regime. Absolutely not. And I don't think we can trust anything on the news either. And even YouTube, because so many bad actors are on YouTube, like Charlie Kirk. And who's the other guy that's so much like him? Oh, Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson is crazy. Him and Tim Pool, they both get paid by some of these questionable international fundings. Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson. Benjamin Johnson. YouTube content creator. Because, yeah, there's a million Benny Johnsons. Yeah, there's a lot of Ben Johnsons on YouTube. I think I said Benjamin, so I guess I should say Benny. I just wanted to see the Benny Johnson, podcaster. It's called The Benny Show. Independently produced and covers breaking news and political commentary from a conservative perspective. It's funny that it says independently produced because he takes money from who knows where. Award-winning storyteller focused on the culture wars and behind-the-scenes insight into global conflict for freedom in our time, promotes itself as 100% independent. See, I don't believe that at all. Podcast is available on various platforms, including Apple and Spotify. Let's see. In September 2025, PBS NewsHour cited a recent episode of The Benny Show in which a guest discussed the suspension of a late-night host. So that must have been last night. On C-SPAN, or maybe today. C-SPAN's website also lists Benny Johnson as the host of The Benny Show podcast and has several videos of him in his library. Yeah, he's a twisted individual, in my opinion. Let's see. But he did call one of his most recent videos from like a week ago, Charlie Kirk is a true American martyr, Benny Johnson. So the whole thing with making Kirk into a martyr is, again, a little over the top. He wasn't doing like Mother Teresa's work. He was like doing Cash Patel's work and Dan Bongino's work. And then, this is what I really wanted to share with you guys. Are you ready? Sit down. How far are we in? We're an hour and 15 minutes. I keep getting a feeling with JD Vance filling in for Charlie, and then Trumpster Fire says he wants to fill in for him too. I flash back to Silence of the Lambs and that character that was created to be like the real life serial unaliver Buffalo Bill, who would skin his victims and then wear their skin. I feel like that's what JD Vance and Dear Leader are like, trying to be him, kind of like single white female. Like they were jealous of him because he's younger, he's more popular, he's hip, he's cool, he's got this whole podcast thing going, and now they're just going to slip right into his spot and be him. That does not sit well for me. It's almost like buying a new puppy the minute your dog passes away. Like, give it a second. Just give it a second. Like, that's just gross. And then the whole thing with flying his remains on Air Force Two, that seems to be an illegal use of our taxpayer dollars. But I think that was for manipulative purposes to make sure that they could keep Erica tight in line with them. That's my opinion. Because, yeah, she said some really bizarre things, too. Really bizarre things. And, you know, she's grieving. But then she posted that video of her, like, kissing his remains. Like, ugh. Gross. Absolutely gross. I mean, I understand maybe wanting to kiss somebody's remains when you're saying goodbye to them forever. I don't think I ever would, but I understand maybe somebody who does that. But then putting it in social media, I mean, I'm like wincing. I'm just like, ew, ew, ew. Let's see. So good to see you here, all of you. Trans, they are saying transitioning to extremism would be funny, but we see it happening. I mean, it seems to me that all the information, I mean, first of all, wherever the guy lies politically, whether it's left or right or nowhere in no man's land, it's immaterial. What's material is that a life was taken. So if he took that life for whatever freaking reason he took it, yeah, throw the book at him. Yeah, capital punishment. I mean, I'm an advocate of capital punishment personally. I know different strokes for different folks, but I don't know that he did it. I mean, you'd have to be a really expert sniper with some serious skills. And I noticed that right away they said it was like a 500-yard distance. And then right away they changed that to like half, like 250 yards distance. And then it's got slimmed down to, well, maybe 200 yards different distance. And then I heard 150 in the last couple of days. And then I've heard even less than that. Like they keep making it closer and closer so that this 22-year-old who probably wasn't a trained sniper could have done that with just one engraved. What did the shell casing from that one say on it? Did they say specifically that one? I know there was like 4 different ones, and they all like refer to the whole thing with the Groiper, the Nick Fuentes. If he's a Nick Fuentes follower, which it seems like he was, that's heavy, hardcore, extreme MAGA stuff. And you got to be real. Charlie Kirk was hardcore, extreme MAGA stuff, but Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes were like at war with each other. So I don't know. Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson. Yeah. Tucker Carlson, he grew up billionaire. I forget what his family owns. Not like Bird's Eye Frozen Foods, but something like that. Some kind of frozen food system. Let me see. Or some kind of food thing. Tucker Carlson's family's estate from what industry? Swanson Frozen Food. This is what it says. Tucker Carlson's family fortune originates from two main sources: his father's marriage into the wealthy Swanson Frozen Food family and his maternal lineage connected to historic California business interests in cattle, grain, insurance, and real estate. Interesting. So anyway, yeah, he's pretty weird. He's pretty offensive, and I don't know. Have you heard him talk about the story of when he got attacked by a demon in bed and he had all these scratches on him and his wife was asleep next to him, but she didn't get woken up when the demon attacked him. I think it was just one demon. But then he does tell in the story that they have 4 large dogs that share the bed with them too. And I don't know. It's a pretty weird story. I'm not buying the whole demon attack thing. Who the F knows? I mean, one idea off the top of my head, kind of the Occam's razor, is that he was super drunk and the dogs scratched him up because he was, I don't know, maybe thrashing. And then maybe he had a dream that a demon was attacking him or something. I don't know. But how come that didn't wake up his wife too? That's weird. That is one of the weirdest stories I've ever heard anybody tell about anything. Let's see. Oh, my friend said that he was such a good Christian man, a family man. She finds me questionable since I wasn't sad. Yeah, a good Christian man, I don't think would advocate for children to be unalived in schools because you have to protect the Second Amendment. That's just my opinion. So yeah, I guess it is how you define good Christian man. Also, a good Christian man, in my opinion, isn't a sexist rat bastard, but that's just me. I don't remember if I kissed my husband's body. Oh, Annabise, I know I didn't kiss my mom when she passed away, but I did hold her hand and I did like touch her hand even when I knew she was long gone. But yeah, I didn't hug her remains right after she transitioned. I never heard that about Tucker Carlson. Yeah, he'll tell you the story. I can put a link to it in the description. So, yeah, I think those texts are fake from the ground up. Oh, so when Jimmy Kimmel was talking about Trumpster Fire and criticizing him for pivoting from, yeah, I'm good, to look at my ballroom that they're building. He did make a really funny joke, which I guess is why the Trumpster Fire had to fire him, because it was so effing funny. He said he's already in the next stage of grieving, construction. OMG. But to me, the hypersensitivity really shows that he's hiding something else. That's just my opinion. So the 3 law enforcement officers that were deceased yesterday in Pennsylvania from, they were trying to issue a warrant out in a rural area. And I don't know if they had 5 officers. They probably had a lot more. There were 5 that were shot. So 3 that unalived right there on scene. And are the flags going to be at half staff for those 3 men? They better, in my opinion. I would almost be suspicious of this incident, but I have no reason to be. I'm suspicious of all these groups of 3 first responders that have passed away. There were the 3 first responders in Idaho a couple of months ago that got sniped by an arsonist. And then there were the 3 sheriff's deputies that did like the explosives in the Los Angeles area. Somebody said she found old grenades in her storage unit in her apartment. And then the ATF specialists got the old grenades and did what they routinely do, and 3 of them unalived, like 7:30 in the morning on a Saturday, like up in the hills of Los Angeles. Really weird to have these incidences where 3 first responders pass away all at once. And that is so tragic. It is tragic when any life is lost. It's especially tragic when first responders' lives are lost, simply because they are trained to make interventions safely, and they still get ambushed sometimes, like the thing in Idaho. But that was like right around the same time that the plea agreement happened too. It was weird with BK in the Idaho 4. But yeah, I want to see those flags at half staff for the 3 Pennsylvania officers that were just trying to serve a warrant. And I'm going to guess, this is a guess, it could be domestic violence, because domestic violence perpetrators are usually the ones who do that kind of crazy thing. Oh, and because there was a wife and kids, I think 3 or 4 kids who were afraid of him, who were staying with family. So yeah, it probably was a domestic violence. Yeah, I wasn't just jumping there. For a second, I thought I was. I try not to just jump. I try to base it on, stuff. So not only are you going to have the RFK Jr. in those e-files with the Yahoo Net and the Vladdy Daddy and Randy Andy, how many other royals? And those sheiks that gave Trumpster Fire the $500 million jet, they too are probably in those files, which is probably why they gave him the jet. But yeah, I also want to mention before I wrap up about Trumpster Fire saying to an Australian reporter the other day, I'm going to tell your leader about you. You set a very bad tone. Like, how freaking juvenile. Like, he asked the reporter where he's from. The guy says Australia, and he's like, oh, Australia. Well, they really want to meet with me. And when I do, I'm going to tell your leader about you. You set a very bad tone. How un-effing presidential can you get? The man is so wrapped up in his damn revenge and retribution. He's supposed to be protecting our country and our civil rights and our Constitution, but he doesn't have any interest in any of that. So a couple more things I want to say, and then I'm going to have to wrap up. I started to talk about the shopping trip. So recently, in one of my most recent videos, I was saying how Trumpster Fire with the shopping trip, I was saying this at the beginning of today's video, he had told Billy Bush about this woman who he was trying to jump her bones, a friend's wife. So he took her furniture shopping, because shopping is one of the ways he tries to isolate people and move in on them. And he said I moved in on her like a bitch, I think. But anyway, he didn't accomplish his goal. But what struck me about it was that he had run into E.G. and Carol in front of Bergdorf and Goodman's on the day when he assaulted her, and he asked her to come into the store with him to help him find a gift for a female, then takes her up to the 6th floor, gets her to be looking at lingerie with him, gets her to go into a dressing room with him, and then he attacks her in there. So this whole shopping thing, but also where they mention the shopping trips in the little E birthday book, made me wonder if maybe when they go shopping that's like for wreck slaves, like maybe they'd travel to a place like Little E Island to shop. But shopping is, I think, one of their code words. So I just wanted to say that. It's creepy. It makes me not want to shop anymore. And I like shopping sometimes when I'm in the mood for it. But the other thing that I want to say that is really freaking crazy is, how J.D. Vance had the river here in the Miami Valley where I live, the Little Miami River, the Army Corps of Engineers released some valves at the Cedar Creek reservoir to add water to Little Miami, even though there's other big rivers right by Little Miami, like the Greater Miami, for one, the Mad River right there, and a couple of others. There's 5 rivers that go through the area. It's called 5 Rivers, like all the parks in the area near there. So in the Dayton area. So 5 rivers. Dayton was flooded in 1913, and it was hideous. It was an insane flood. They had the Army Corps of Engineers make all these extensive, just, major extensive safety measures so that nothing like that could ever happen again. So Dayton is like a hub for river safety because of all the rivers crossing. When that Guadalupe River flooded in Texas this summer on the 4th of July and all those little children passed away at camp, there is a lake that could be, that is used as a reservoir to add water when wanted to the Guadalupe River. So when the Army Corps of Engineer did this with Cedar Creek, it got me concerned that maybe they were like testing it to see if they could make a flood happen again in the Dayton area. But then I thought about it more and I thought, well, probably they could be testing there as a prototype of where they could do that anywhere. And then it wasn't until just yesterday that I thought, could that have happened with the Guadalupe River? Like, we know that there was like mass rain. I don't know. That flood to me just seems like they first said it was like the 1 in 100 year flood. And then it was like, oh, it's a once in 1,000 year flood. And, right at the same time that all of the victims of Little E, all of the child transporting, everybody was so focused on that. And then it's like, oh, look, a bunch of little kids are missing from camp. And it was like on the 2nd day of camp, I think. Was it the 2nd day? It was the first weekend of camp. I think that the kids got dropped off like Monday and Tuesday, and then I think it happened like Thursday night. So a few days in, 4 or 5 days in. Anyway, the whole thing with the cloud seeding, at first I thought that was like crazy that Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about that. But then there was that cloud seeding company that confessed that they had been doing cloud seeding just southwest of where the floods happened, like 2 days before the floods happened. And he was telling his story to try to say that it had nothing to do with it. But then it was like, well, that's weird that you were cloud seeding 2 days before, right by there. Could it have been cloud seeding and some type of thing like what they did with the Little Miami River? I don't know. I'd hate to think that anybody could be so sinister and so disgusting, but I do think that this president is guilty AF, and he is trying his damnedest to not be caught with his pants down. I'll just say it like that, and then I'll wrap up. Oh, yes, Anna Bees. I do need to wrap up, though, but let me read up all of your stuff real quick here. Who doesn't like Jimmy Kimmel? I love him. He's so funny. But I never heard about Tucker Carlson sitting down, Granny, and he says, I agree the texts are fake. I don't really like Jimmy Kimmel, but the way they're going after free speech are pissing me off. Yeah, exactly. Like, whether you're a fan of his or not. I mean, like, I would protect Charlie Kirk's right to free speech, even though I disagree with him. And same with Tucker Carlson and Benny Johnson. I was going to call him Benny Hill. Like, yeah, we all have a right to our opinion. In our country, we have the right to speak our opinion. You don't have that right in every country. I guess in the UK, they arrest people for what they post. And so it kind of feels like they're trying to do that here. How many people have been fired already? And this is when there's already job problems, not enough jobs, and then firing the person. So one less job that brought you the bad news. They had a week to grieve before we did. Oh, that's funny, Granny Annie. That's way interesting. Yeah, it is. It's super interesting. I will try to forward you the thing that Granny Annie sent to me, Anna Bees, the video. Grandpa's old gun, the blood cap exploded out, robot blood, red stuff. A local gal listened to scanners. Cops couldn't find what hospital he was taken to. Well, did they even take him to the hospital? I mean, to just like whisk him off in the black SUV that they whisked him off in, I thought that was weird. I thought that they should have waited for medics, unless some of those Secret Service agents are trained medics, which maybe they are. But, I think it was obvious that he was not alive, and you don't want to tamper with a crime scene unless you want to tamper with a crime scene. Recently, there have been 3 hangings of young black men in different states. They called all 3 self-unalivings. Yes, Anna Bees, I'm so glad you brought that up. I have seen that online, and I thought 2 of them were in Mississippi, right? Black people are saying that no black persons would take themselves out like that. Well, and it's just like your classic lynch. And especially with MAGA folks upset about the Charlie Kirk thing, like, is that their way of getting back at, I don't know. I was able to hug Mom and Dad 5 years apart. Oh, Granny Annie, good for you. Yeah. When we had to put one of our cats to sleep, my husband was able to snuggle her the whole time that she was getting euthanized at the emergency vet. And then I was very grateful that he did that, but I was like, I could never do that. And then I was in a situation where I did something like that. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, okay. Yeah. The first time that happened was when I was in graduate school with our cat named Bean, who had cancer. And then the second time that happened was with Bean's mom a few years later. And that's when I was able to help snuggle the kitty on her way out, usher her out. And I was amazed that I could do that. I didn't think I had it in me. But yeah, you want to comfort your loved ones when they're transitioning. And it's comforting to yourself too. And it'd be awful, like the time the 12-year-old was hung. Clean Socks didn't hang himself. Dad was promoted, government hush warning. So terrible. Yes, it is. One of the Idaho fire guys was to testify for BK. Are you serious, Annie Granny? I had not heard that. Thank you for that information. I'm going to look into that. That is crazy. One of the Idaho guys to testify. I agree. Even people like Charlie Kirk have free speech. Yeah. And people like me with their little tiny podcasts. So I will invite anybody who would like to donate. That I have cash apps, like, what do I have? PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee and the other one, Venmo. So I think I have all three of those in the description of my channel and in the descriptions of almost all the videos. There's also super chat and stuff like that. In the event that anybody feels the need to donate, is moved to do such, I am ever so grateful. But I am ever so grateful for you just being viewing and just being. So I appreciate your time. And if you can hit the like button on the way out and share the video if you think that there's some nuggets in it. And I do need to wrap. I got to get to a volleyball game. So I'm going to say peace out. Love you guys. Cloud seeding, wind making here in Vegas, hurricane manipulation. Yeah, it's freaking nuts. It's absolutely nuts. I know. My sister lives in Florida and they do a lot of cloud seeding there, but I guess Colorado and Utah are like the two biggest cloud seeding states, and they're just north of the Texas area where the Guadalupe River is. So yeah, I thought that was interesting looking into that. Anyway, you guys have a great afternoon and drink your water, eat your protein, eat your produce, and we will hopefully see you tomorrow kind of early because I need to be leaving here, I think, by noon to do my yoga retreat. Bye, everyone. Have a great day. I can't wait to hear more about BK. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Oh, check your mail, Anna Bees. See you soon. Love you.